Boston Mayor Michelle Wu and Representative Ayanna Pressley on Thursday held a roundtable discussion on how structural racism impacts public health. Pressley touted her bill, the Anti-Racism in Public Health Act, which will help fund new programs within the CDC to address racism. Wu decried the racial disparities and racism that people of color face when it comes to their physical and mental health. Additionally, the mayor highlighted her plans to address homelessness in the city. When asked whether it would be hard to address structural racism under a potentially Republican-led House of Representatives after the midterms, Pressley simply said she's optimistic Democrats will maintain control over the chamber.
Thank you. Which does beg a larger question, I think, as well, in terms of do we find distinctions in treating BIPOC communities with men and women, which I would love to unpack that. But before we do, because I know we have about 5 minutes, and I want to be able to have an even greater equality of voices around the table. But Mayor, I'm going to turn it over to you because I'm curious about how you would distill your approach to addressing homelessness through existing city resources, and where do you see, other avenues to partner, but sort of what's your guiding principle and frame here?
Well, I think in some ways it's challenging to distill because homelessness is the symptom, not the problem. Mm-hmm. And so all of our efforts around how we plan and permit development in our city, how we're investing in schools and youth development, it really all is the actual solution. Mm-hmm. But in terms of how we've been particularly thinking about, again, led by Dr. Ojukutu and Chief Dillon and our housing cabinet and others across the team, Jen and everyone who is here today, it's really, we have to get to root causes. And so you heard some of the numbers about hundreds of people served through our housing surge. Prior to January of this year, the city of Boston did not have any low threshold, fully medically supported housing units that we could directly connect residents unhoused at Mass and Cass to. And in being able to stand up about 200 of those units, we've seen remarkable success for individuals who are able to access these units and the services. It's been transformational. 72 people now, not only served by this housing, but then transitioning on to permanent housing with jobs and careers, with services, with rent resources to help with that. Of the individuals who are in those housing units now, I think a couple statistics I want to lift up. More than 80% have a housing plan in place, working with case management and coaches, and 60% have even identified a way to pay for rent once they identify an apartment and housing. Nearly 2/3 are regularly receiving primary care treatment now to address health issues, the comorbidities and others. Half receiving medication for opioid use, and almost 1/3 receiving mental health services. And these numbers, compared to what is possible when someone is living on the street and very, very hard to make it on a regular basis with transportation and everything else to your scheduled appointment, to see the ability to take care of all those pieces of your humanity at once is what unlocks kind of the next step in that journey. Now, of course, the challenge for Boston is that we are a center city and the service city in a regional and national crisis here. And so we continue to say we've now had 10 months of being able to document exactly what works and how much it works and how transformational it is. And we need to do it even more, and to, as has been said by some of our partners, to have this sited in locations that are accessible to all and in places across the state where people can more easily travel to them.